Welcome to another episode of Sawdust Nation Podcast, episode 174. And we have two guest hosts with us today. We have AJ from Crafted in NJ.
Yep.
We have Tim from Gears and Fire. And then myself, Josh from North Country Woodworking. A little bit of a different episode for you today. We have a great lineup of questions and topics. And we're going to start off with what's going on in the shop, going with Tim, if you're ready.
What is going on in the shop? Well, honestly, right now, I am in the middle of doing a deep clean, trying to make sure everything is organized because I finished up the table, I finished up the cutting board, and got back from Maker Camp, so it's all about trying to find my shop and putting stuff away. So I do have a couple small projects coming up, but like mostly what's in my future is house upgrades, focusing on the kitchen first. Like that's substantial. So we're gonna be diving into cabinet design, stuff like that. And I don't know if you guys have never bought marble countertops before, but we're starting to look at that too.
They're very expensive.
But here's the thing, outside of, remodeling the kitchen is figuring out what to put back in the kitchen, because we have a lot of stuff that I feel we don't need. There's a lot of stuff that she feels we do need, and trying to consolidate that down to a reasonable amount of things to put back into our brand new cupboards. So could I build 10 cupboards where I don't need 12 cupboards, that type of thing. Even like the silverware drawer, just trying to get everything back into the drawer so it's not just a cobbled garage sale, as we've all probably had to deal with. Yeah, so that really, really, really is what's like staring me in the face, is just like cleanup and kitchen remodel prep. So yeah,
that's a big deal, man. A kitchen remodel is definitely no small feat. I do not envy you when it comes to that.
I mean, have you guys ever done like a room remodel like that at some point? I know, like Josh, you had just moved out of one house into another house. Have you done anything like that with your old house? And if you did, like, to what extent?
Me personally, I haven't done anything for any place I physically lived. If you want to count like a little bit more of the construction side and stuff like that, my father was a contractor when I was growing up here and there. And like for my grandparents and for other clients, I helped them with stuff like that. I don't think a kitchen remodel, nothing like that. I know kitchen and bathroom though are one of the most expensive remodels you can definitely do. But I definitely would like the challenge someday. So I'd like the lessons learned from you when you're complete.
Yeah, I'll say how close that I can. I mean, I know it's just going to be, plywood carcass with like walnut face on everything. And like even like making things trying to make things intelligent too. So in other words, if I can have like a drawer pull out with just the right utensils in that drawer in a certain order, really trying to lay out everything in there, which obviously I'll do in CAD, but like then I have to build like every little thing, for the silverware drawer, like make sure all the forks and the spoons and the knives fit in like all the little things, right? So just trying to get like a good layout too, like a good flow for the kitchen, so that when I'm in there, which isn't as often as, the other half, I suppose, but when I'm in there, I know where stuff goes.
Yeah, the room that's right back there is my laundry room. And when I moved into this house about, I think, just over 4 years ago, this whole basement, the wood floor wasn't down. So this is all vinyl plank flooring. This was just all concrete. They did an epoxy top coat and whatnot. So then before I moved any of my stuff in, I was lucky enough that I was still living at my father's house. So I kept all my stuff over there. And then the laundry room needed some help. So we put in waterproof vinyl flooring down in there, redid some of the piping, put a drop ceiling in with an LED light in the middle of it. And then for down here, painted, put the flooring down. And I think that's really it. So necessarily, I haven't done any big renovations or anything like that. I keep toying around with the idea. I hate my kitchen. I hate my kitchen floor. I hate the cabinets. I hate everything about it. But also,
really
I feel that
my wallet doesn't like the idea of even, doing anything. So at this moment in time, I just got to live with it. It's functional. but it's just like I want it different. I want the flooring different. I want it just to look completely different. I even toyed around with the idea of building my own cabinets, and I was like, right now, maybe it's not the best idea. And this is going back a couple, 3 years, when I was really gun ho. I mean, I was ready to bite the bullet and just do it. And then I was like, I can't. I'm not going to have enough time to do it. And now that I got a baby on the way, I definitely don't have enough time, money, or energy for it. So we'll see how that goes. I think this kitchen I'm going to be living with for another like 10, 15, maybe 20 years.
30, 40.
Yeah.
Around there, yeah.
Yeah.
We got some pretty sweet, 50s, 60s wallpaper in our kitchen. Oof. And the floor is just terrible. And it's just a battle. But like with the real challenges, like we have a lot of, our house is all radiant heating. So like we have, like a pipe coming up into a register, going back down. So like I have to like either go around it or figure out a way to, repipe and re-register and stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm not looking forward
to it.
Yeah,
that actually reminds me, the next project, which is going to have to happen next spring, and that is the upstairs, why people design houses like this. And now this is an older house. I think it was built in like the late 60s. But people are idiots. Wait, is this the uncensored version? Okay. People who build houses are stupid because they don't know. And especially back then, they just did the easiest thing in the world. And I get it. I understand why they did it. But my whole floor, except my master bedroom, is on one zone. So I got a kitchen, living room. I got 3 bedrooms and a bathroom on one thermostat. And the thermostat's in the hallway.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, the rooms get so hot that it pours out, trips the thermostat. Now the front room and the kitchen are ice cold. So now you go to crank the heat and literally it's blaring hot in these bedrooms. And now...
It's like... set up box fans.
Dude, I'm telling you,
shit around.
One of those rooms is going to be the baby's room. Well, now we're going to pretty much cook the baby if I don't split this zone. So, I mean, unless this kid is just going to grow up super thin because he's going to be in a sauna all the time. So, my big project come next spring is I want to split that whole zone. So the bedrooms are on one thermostat, the kitchen and the living room is on its own separate thermostat. But that means now I gotta split it down here because that's my utility room back there. So I'll have to split it down there, run new piping, put new heaters in. It's going to be a trip
to do. It will be worth it. And plus, you're probably not going to use as much energy because you're not trying to compensate for an entire floor. So,
granted that...
Go, Tim.
The expense going into this is going to be a wash. You spend the money, but you save it on the back end.
Well, I use fuel oil, so I'm paying now. I'm paying like $1,000 each fill up, and during the winter, that front room and the kitchen get so cold. They built the kitchen with one heater that's probably 6 foot long, and this kitchen is huge. And we're like, why wouldn't they add? They got a whole blank wall. Just add more heater. Like, you did it there. Why not just add it? These people just don't think.
Why just keep going?
And the kitchen also has a bump out. So they redid the heating. So you would think, why wouldn't we just add more heat? Now, unless these people were Eskimos and they loved it being cold, it's friggin' cold in that kitchen. You stand there for 5 minutes, you're shivering to death.
Put in-floor heating.
I don't know. I don't know about you growing up. Like my dad always.
Oh yeah, my father too.
Down. If we were cold, just put it on another layer.
Yep, the thermostat stayed the same, but we had a wood fireplace, and there was no happy medium in the house during the winter. You were either cold, or that fireplace was like red hot, and everyone's sweating in the living room.
Oh my gosh, that would drive me up the wall. I hate a hot house. I hate it.
Yeah. So in the chat, Jason Grissop said he asked what kind of heating. It's baseboard heating. So because he said radiant heaters. I guess radiant heaters are. I don't even know. Oh, hello.
So it's like a
surprise.
It's like a water heater, right? But it pumps the hot water through registers along the baseboard.
Oh yeah, no. So that's not forced hot air?
No.
Okay.
No, that's what I'm saying. It basically just radiates the heat, but it's like these little registers that are anywhere between like 4 feet to like 8 feet long
Okay.
in chunks along the baseboard in your
Jason's
house.
Yeah,
not wrong.
okay.
It's the same. You're
And
getting heat.
honestly,
Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, I prefer that. Like forced air, like so it's blowing dust all around. With radiant heat, it's just kind of passive and it's on and it's wonderful.
Real quick, and then we can move on to something else. But as I said before, builders of houses are morons, and you would think that
Not
people
anyone
who
that
put,
listens.
I'm telling you, I don't care. I'm sorry to offend anybody. If you build houses, you probably are doing what I'm going to be saying. If you have forced hot air, 99% of the time, where are those registers? They're not in the floor because they use forced hot air for heat, and they use the same register for heat and cool. So they usually put the registers up high. Well, what happens with heat? Heat usually rises. Usually, most of the time. So when you put a register up high, all that heat stays at the ceiling. So I've seen so many houses, huh?
You need a couple fans.
I've seen too many houses that had forced hot air that had the registers really high. And it's like, why wouldn't you put a register down below for heat and a register up high for cool?
Because it looks ugly. No one wants them that way.
I have a funny story about that. When my father was having a house built in Wayne, New Jersey, he was having a custom house built. And he fought the builder tooth and nail to have them put in double registers, one for heat, one for cool. They freaked out. He didn't mind paying for it. He just knows heat rises, so we want to force it from the bottom so that you get warm, not the ceiling. The ceiling doesn't need to be warm. I need to be warm. So once again, people who build houses, unless you're doing it the right way, they're all cookie cutter. They don't know what the hell they're doing. Next topic.
AJ, I think you and I both bought project houses.
Yeah, well, this one, luckily, like I said, this one's got baseboard heating, so I'm good with it. It gets hot. Like I said, those bedrooms are about 90, so the bedroom's hot, but the front room's not.
Right.
Anyway, now that I'm heated from this, get it?
Since you're so heated up, why don't you take it away? What's in your shop? You must be cooking in there.
I must be cooking. I got a lot going on in the shop. I did not realize that, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but I did not realize that Makers Never Forget is this coming weekend. So, yeah, buddy. Did you?
Yeah. No.
Whoops and apparently a maker forgot.
Yeah. So I did forget.
Makers never do forget.
Why my screen keeps going blank and I don't understand why it's
okay. We can see
anyway. So I got that flag that I got to build. I got another order for Christmas that I talked about last time. I heard Tim say Maker Camp, and we could definitely talk about that because Maker Camp is amazing. If you've never gone to Maker Camp, you have to get your ass to Maker Camp because it's simply put, it is amazing. I heard it. I either read it or I heard it from someone. Maker Camp is a place where you can go and you can hold a hammer wrong and no one makes fun of you. Everyone would help you hold that hammer correctly and use it correctly. It's a different world. You go there and you literally could walk in not knowing anyone. And then as soon as your foot steps past that little border, you know everyone at that point. Everyone becomes your friend. I made a lot of friends. Yeah, it's a giant family. People you don't even know would just come up to you. Hey, how's it going? What can I do? How can I help? Anyway, Maker Camp is amazing. So I'm still on the Maker Camp high for that. How many days did you go, Tim?
Oh, the whole thing. We showed up Thursday and we left Sunday.
Okay. I probably walked right past you. I was there on Sunday.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay. I only go for usually one day because of my work schedule and whatnot. And most of the time, actually, this will be my second year. So I went both times as a spectator. Next year, I'll probably get the Maker Pass so that I can actually do something. And
dude, it's so worth it, man.
Are you?
I hope the timing works out for you that you can stay there for the whole thing. Man.
Are you going to any of the hammer-ins when they happen?
No, we can't afford it. I was lucky to have Maker.
Okay. if I remember correctly, I think Keith from Blackthorn Concepts had said that the hammer-ins and timber-ins, maybe not the timber-in, he did say the hammer-in might be free. So
That would be awesome.
So I got to look into it as well. I thought you had to pay to get in. Maybe he even said like $20, but I just honestly don't remember.
That actually sounds right, because I do remember the timber-in being rather surprisingly expensive. But I said the hammer-in, I don't remember that, like the price for that being a flag.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like for us, for me and the wife, like we still have to drive 16 hours. Drive 16.
Yeah, I'm forgetting.
It was worth it. It was worth it. We're doing it again next year.
I got a nice like 2-hour drive, a little less than 2 hours, and I'm there.
Rub it in.
What's that? I can't hear you. What? Oh, he's fading out.
So, but yeah, the shop is busy. I'm also going to be taking on probably the largest project that to date. I teased it the other day, but I'll announce it here. But I'm going to be building a crib, my own crib for me though. This is going to be my new bed.
Is that an MTV crib?
Yes, and I'm getting it. I'm going to film it too. I'm going to give you a show all about it. But yes, I figured Kim was asking me if I was going to make one, and we went through some ideas and looked online and whatnot, and I found these plans online. I don't have the gentleman's name who they're from, but it looks fairly simple. He uses a lot of dowel joinery. It's all made out of oak, but I'm going to do mine out of oak and sycamore, quarter sawn, spalted sycamore. So it's going to look good. I hope it's going to look really good. If not, the child's just going to lay on a bunch of wood, and I'm just going to put a cat bed down or something.
They make more pallets every day, man. Just saying.
just lay on.
You can do it, man. You'll be fine.
So, I mean, I only have a short time, until April, which is probably tomorrow in my luck.
That's how it feels lately. I don't know about you guys, but time has just been flying by. Like, I still remember it was the beginning of October yesterday.
Oh yeah. It's almost over.
So with this crib that you bought the plans for
I
that?
did.
Okay.
I'm trying to see if his Instagram handle is in here. John builds it. And I mean, his plans are very detailed. I want to say it's like 30 pages or something like that. Really nice how he put it out. He has a YouTube video on it as well, which looked very simple, which was nice. I didn't need to make like half blind dovetails and then like have a sliding sunrise dovetail or anything like that. It's literally
that sounds really fancy.
I was literally just going to ask you. Be a good time to bring out that dovetail maker.
Like we're googling off to the side, sunrise.
No.
That's what I do.
So that's going to be a big project. And the nice thing about this is he made it convertible. So as the kid gets bigger, then we'll be able to take the front panel off of it, and then it's a day bed. It won't turn into like a bigger bed, but at least then we can get a few years.
You could totally make it to a bigger bed. All you got to do is, adjust it as necessary. I mean, you got the know-how to. It might not be in the plans, but like buy the hardware. Come on,
I know how to make flags. I could carve out flags. There's no like rhyme or reason to it. This is like fine furniture for me. Like this is like an heirloom piece of furniture. Like this is like the Mona Lisa for me.
You're gonna be fine, man.
Awesome, man.
I can't wait to watch
You're gonna hit it out of the park.
Yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, shop's going good. Got a lot to do, and I think I talked about it last time, but I'm putting a kibosh on all custom orders. But there's a little caveat to that. I haven't posted anything about it, and I wanted to kind of bounce it off you guys real quick. Q&A. I want to stop all orders. But if they're small enough and I can get it done in an amount of time, like flags, of course, I don't want to do anymore for Christmas. How would you go about wording that to like the public? Like, hey, I'm closing my books, but if you have something small, I could do it.
Just like
I
that.
think just like that, because they know, like, you gotta hope that they have some common decency to know what small means, right? like anything too complicated is gonna like trigger some red flags. Oh no, he said small. So let's ask for something simple, laser, cut out whatever, spray it, send it.
You're also putting a lot of
That's
hope.
in my mind that
you're
I
putting
know,
a lot
I
of hope
know.
in humanity at that point. I have
Trust me, my hope in humanity is lost.
I know I
As a
mentioned
product developer, testing products in front of people, trust me, they disappoint me every time.
well, I know I mentioned it one time, but I get asked a lot where I'm located, and I mean it is in my name.
In Germany, right?
Germany, yes, New Germany with a J, actually.
It's one of those European countries.
So yeah,
Nigeria.
Shop's busy. I just if you caught my stories from today, so today's Tuesday, the 24th. I was cutting up a whole bunch of new stripes for a bunch of flags. So what my goal is, I'm going to have a lot of blanks and then also some carved flags, maybe that are ready for stain. So we'll see. I'm trying to get into the mode of always having something on hand, so I don't have to worry about doing all the grunt work, but I can get it done quicker. Because right now it takes me a while because now I got to cut, glue, carve, all that. No one's ever given me that idea before. So just like the laser, no one ever told me that I should buy a bigger laser or even a small laser.
I believe those words. I really do.
Yeah, that was on me. So anyway, that's enough about my shop. We got a lot to talk about, and I also want to hear about Mr. Mustache, his shop.
It's called Mustache. Anyway,
Mustache.
So the shop is going fine. It's not like I get in there as much as I used to. We're trying to change that. We're starting to get into that rhythm, but that seems like the story every week. Let's dive into something that's a little bit different. So I'm getting a little bit serious when it comes to my 3D printing, more so than I have in the past. Diving into how-tos and different stuff like that. With different updates and whatnot, Prusa Slicer has actually done it again and impressed me about their capability. I could print anything, any size now. With the different settings and whatnot. They have different connections and different ways to cut it in the slicer itself. And it might have been there for the last couple updates, but it just caught on. And it was like one of those aha moments. Apple falls on your head and you're like, I got an idea. I could 3D print anything now. I mean, like the size of my printer it doesn't matter. So I have some projects coming up. Most notable, we're going to do some lightsabers from the Star Wars sagas. So I got some filament coming in for that. I'll be doing resin and filament. I'm trying to get that complete. Mostly for myself, hopefully advertising a little bit and getting some interest out there. I need to get those, so they're making some kind of money. I have them. They sit there. They make some pretty cool stuff for me and the kids and the wife and the household and the shop. But I need to find something with that I really enjoy doing and be able to make something with it to justify them on a shelf above my head. So I'm hoping that might be an outlet into that, especially now because I know I could print any size and kind of cut things apart, put them together. That really does change a lot for me. And I know someone else here has a 3D printer story. A little figurine. Tim, do you want to talk about that real quick?
So the company I work for has an SLA printer. If you're not familiar with that technology, basically FDM squirts hot plastic in a layer, builds it up like that. SLA, like the platform, comes down into a vat of liquid, and then layer by layer, there's a laser that comes across and cures it as it pulls it up out of the liquid. It's pretty cool. What's nice about SLA is that it gets really, really, really high detail. So, I mean, for the Patreon folks, you can see, I printed my wife. It's going to be kind of blurry in the camera, but if it can ever focus, you can see, it caught the texture of the fabric that she's wearing. This camera isn't doing it any justice. I apologize. But I mean, it caught, the little hairs in her braid coming off the side of her head. It's just astonishing the amount of detail that you can get from an SLA printer. But that's only half the battle. So stuff like this, at Maker Camp, there is a guy there with a 3D scanner, 3D DIY day. Yep. So this year we were able to get myself scanned and the wife scanned. So I mean, but there's like a crap ton of stuff on there that you can print. Um, but in my previous line of work, I was a prototype developer, so we had a crap ton of FDM printers. We had an objet printer, which is basically it's like an inkjet printer. It just basically sprays the stuff across, but it's like immediately cured by UV light, and then the table just drops. So basically, it like prints an entire line at a time. It's really fast. I absolutely love 3D printing, and I would love to have a 3D printer. And I right now I'm looking at the Bamboo series of printers
They're not
because
bad. Yeah.
of the print quality and print speed. So like that's probably going to be my next fun purchase if there is one within the next 6 months.
Yeah.
I 3D printing is really cool, and I like what you can do with it. But
If it's not
you have to know the limits too.
yeah,
But
yeah, absolutely.
You have an FDM printer, right? So the nice thing about FDM printers is like you can actually tap holes into it. Like in other words, if you need to have threads in it, you just make the hole undersized, and then you can
Wow.
tap threads into it, and you can actually use it like a screw.
Yep.
And screw in a screw boss. No, that's really cool. We use that a lot in when we were prototyping stuff. So like try stuff like that. There's so much you can do with a 3D printer, but as long as you know the limits.
Exactly. And you know, there's a lot to learn about it too. Like I've been doing it for a number of years to keep updating different stuff. And then going into the person slicer again, they have snap connectors now. Not just dowel or anything like that. When I saw the snap connectors, it just blew my mind. And I can't wait to give it a try. I have a model in mind that you can't print it small because there's so much detail. It's hard for the printer to nail. So I'm going to print it pretty large and do it in pieces and snap it together. And the nerd in me shows a little with this one. If you recognize Zoids, I'm going to be printing one of those off. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about the capability that has opened up because of the snap connectors, the dowel connectors. And it's just, we even have a dowel connector in there. There's different dovetail. What else? I forget what else might be in there, but there's so many different options. I mean, it really truly does open up a lot for me at least. So I got some filament and stuff coming tomorrow to kind of help with that. It's going to be a mix of the two kind of working together. Because you can definitely build a better quality model with different features from both. So we'll see how that pans out.
And I think depending on the slicer program that you use, actually, no, it depends on the extruders you have.
Yes.
With your printer. Can you get smaller extruders?
Yes. Yes, the nozzles you can. And then you can print different size filament. But honestly, for details and everything, the resin, you can't beat the resin. So that's where I'm going to do the detail prints and the bigger stuff, like, you know, the grip or something that has detail, but is more capable in filament. I'm going to go ahead and do it there. So I'm trying to adjust, what is better cost effective between the two. And as far as time, I could pop out one or two at the same time versus, you know, do it all in one printer. And now that's just going nonstop. The other one's not doing anything. So that's kind of the plan with that. I have the materials and everything for my next project for the house and everything. So I forget if I mentioned this last podcast or not. So I bought a 4-foot by 2-foot mold from Empire Goods Co. Great company. Look through them real quick, and their prices are pretty nice. So I bought that, and basically I bought the bigger one because I want to be able to go ahead and build a coffee table. And if I don't need a coffee table size, I can do multiple boards with that same pour. I can cut it up in different ways and have sets of coasters. There's so many possibilities that open up when you have a large tabletop mold like that. So I'll be utilizing that. The first project in there is going to be our side tables. It's going to be it's going to be a piece of maple that I've been carrying around with me for a while. I'm going to cut it in half, and we're going to, I think, maybe some color epoxy this time. But there will be some rocks and some similar stuff like a river table type in there I'm not sure how I'm going to go about doing that quite yet. Still talking to the wife, but it's going to be nothing too crazy. The top is going to be really nice. And then we're going to probably go with some more maple for the sides and a drawer, maybe an open area on the bottom for some books or something like that. I always wanted floating side tables for the beds, but honestly don't want to drill into these walls. God only knows what I could hit. And then and when I leave, I want to just be able to pick them up, be able to protect them easier too.
Yep.
So
take them with you.
So we got a lot of projects kind of coming up. We're doing a little bit different stuff than I have in the past. Traditionally, a lot of military stuff and plaques and items like that. I do have a shadow box I need to get working on. I have a couple plaques. I'm starting to start conversations with my clients in Jersey, talking about shipping and how we can work on different things, to continue producing stuff for them. So that's kind of exciting to me because I didn't know if I was going to lose them or not by moving. The fact that they're willing to open up, conversation and kind of work toward that goal. Awesome. At work, I have a coworker that is a basketball coach, and he's asking about tumblers, and we're trying to work on like ongoing order, if you will, of tumblers and water bottles. That way he could produce those and he'll, sell them for a little bit of a profit, but basically this project might fund a new rotary for me. So I told him that straight up. I'm like, look, man, I work with
rotary
you.
For the laser or rotary for the CNC?
For the laser. So I'm not there with the CNC. That is Nap's realm right now. Eventually, maybe. I have other priorities when it comes to different items in the shop. A better rotary is definitely a must after working with Ben for Beach Times Woodworking. And after utilizing his, I realized that I need to update mine because I have spent more time trying to correct that than I have actually engraved on it.
Which one you looking at?
Pyburn, absolutely.
The grip?
Not the grip.
Just get the grip. Just get it.
Why?
Because I have it, and it is the most amazing piece of equipment that I've ever laid my hands on.
There's a testimonial right there.
Yeah, I guess so.
I went from, and I'm gonna say the name. I went from a Mansfield Customs. I really liked it. I really, really, really liked it. Out of the box, it was beautiful. It was a 4-wheeled rotary, and it had a little clip on it to hold down the thing and whatnot. 3D printed parts, but also extruded aluminum parts. I think even CNC'd aluminum parts. Beautiful. It worked one tumbler, and then that was it. No other tumbler I can get working. It would wobble. It wouldn't roll right. It would wobble off. It was some of the 3D printed parts were messed up where they actually broke. So I was in a bind because I had an order for some tumblers. And of course, I was looking and I found the Pyburn grip. It was over $1,000, but I bit the bullet. I lie. It was under 1,000, maybe 850 or something like that.
I think if you get either the grip set up or you can get both, I think both is like 1,400.
Yeah. The grip is all you need. I've done different size tumblers. I've done glass. I've done a few different things. It is the easiest thing to set up, and it's worth its weight in gold because
I agree with you that might be the path I should go, but I might have my eyes on a discounted one that's on Marketplace around me. Okay. And I can get that for much cheaper than the brand new one. And then later on, once I produce enough, I can go ahead and get the grip as an accessory. The one I'm looking at is version 3. And it's been on there for a while. I've been watching it, but I'm going to go ahead and try to snatch that up once I get this other deal in place. Because I told him straight up, I'm like, I normally don't talk to clients like I'm about to talk to you, but since I work with you daily, I don't want to really hide any of my motivation here. I'm trying to nail this deal with you so I can go ahead and buy this piece of equipment. Yeah. And if I can get you, if you can somehow place an order big enough to do that, I will make sure that you get a deal from me because you're helping me out as well. And we can maintain this relationship. So I won't be decreasing my price for that a lot, but it's enough in a big order will make a difference for him and I. Okay. So I am very much in the feeling that, like, especially now, that is something I do not need. It is something that I can wait on if I need to. But if I can create a deal or a job that's going to pay for it, then I can go ahead and acquire it. And that kind of leads me into, the lathe. So the lathe is another
So
one of
you're
those
just
things.
waiting for that trigger.
Exactly. I have a bunch of things. Same thing with the 3D printing, for the tumbler, rotary, for the lathe. Same thing all across the board. I'm trying to produce products with the stuff I have. And once I start selling that, I'll focus on getting those items better and then get to a point like I have throughout the shop. I don't want to spend too much of the house money on things, but rather the shop money. And the shop still needs to fund, taxes and all that stuff, which I want to make sure we live comfortably and the shop is not tasking on the house. I think everyone out there can understand that.
So like what you make by selling stuff, basically selling what you make, that doesn't just like pay for shop stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't cover everything.
No, it does. The stuff I make does cover when I have jobs lined up. But
I gotcha.
they're like, I took a pay cut going into my current job essentially, which was understandable. I saw that coming. And then I got a pay raise so I kind of evened out right now of where I was. But the shop has always provided that little extra just in case. And then it allowed me to buy stuff and maintain things in the shop. But I haven't been producing like I have been. So some like the filament stuff came out of the household. It did. Once I start getting plaques and stuff out the door a little bit more, I can start, having the shop basically pay for itself. Because I was doing pretty well when I was in New Jersey. Here, I haven't established myself, and I have to do that by giving a plaque away, producing it for this person. I did a sign for my shop, and I've already got 2 orders based off that. Nice. Different stuff here and there. I'm seeing, people from around the area start picking up on my name and getting mentioned and reaching out for pricing, and which pricing is another thing. I don't know what anyone else is kind of pricing here. At least back in Jersey, I kind of had an understanding what the average around the area was. There are a couple makers around. I'm not quite sure of what their name is or not, but they're getting stuff from somewhere. And I know a couple of PCS, which means moved to a different location. But it's going to be a slow process getting to where it was. And in order to do that, I'm trying to open up different avenues with the 3D printing, the lathe, and then the rotary, and make sure I have the right equipment to make sure my time is worthwhile. So that's kind of where the shop is currently. One fun project I'm doing with my son is something I mentioned a while back. It kind of hits on Jason's last comment in the chat too, is I've seen picture frame chessboards. So they usually have a really nice frame, and in the background they have, like the checkered style back. What's stopping me is I'm debating on how I exactly want to do that. Do I want to laminate really nice wood on there to make the checker background? Do I want to do like a pour in the mold essentially and make it like that? But I've already 3D printed with resin chess pieces, and I just have to clean those up and finish those off. And I'll have a chessboard me and my son could play that is off a surface that's just hanging up, and we can have games that way. It kind of allows him to take and makes him think a little bit more too, because playing chess vertical versus horizontal is totally, it messes with you just a little. So I'm going to produce one of those, probably one for my brother because he has kids, and I don't think he realizes if he puts it on a table, it's not going to be the same game twice. And then I definitely want to do one for my father, but more tabletop. I'll probably do a tabletop version for myself too. But I think I'm a 3D carve mine. There are some really nice 3D carves out there that you can actually put into a foldable set, put away. End result there is someday I really want to do a really nice set that's like a table. and that like there's like a reading room and like it sits right there and you can play a game. But it's not going to happen here, unfortunately.
Not yet.
Not yet. Everything comes in time. I think we all understand that here. We're at that age where we know we can't have everything we want right away. So it will come in time. But enough about the shop and what I have planned. Listen to me rant long enough.
We get some questions.
We do have plenty of questions, and let's hit on one of the most important things we have to talk about tonight. Makers never forget. So as AJ's mentioned already, if you don't know, it's due this weekend. Make sure you get that out there. Corey, I'm sorry, man. I kind of dropped the ball with that. Corey's with Cardinal Woodworking. Follow him and the Maker Never Forget Challenge. You still have time to create that flag and get it out to someone that's a veteran, that is first responders.
So the 28th of October is, I don't know if you said it, but it is National First Responders Day. So that's how this whole thing started in the very beginning. Now Corey's taking it over. He's, wielding it, and he's doing a great job at it. He's promoting it. I haven't checked on the last update on how many people have signed up for it. But one thing that I wanted to touch on was, I know myself, I was stressing because now I have a very limited time because it's the 28th. So one thing you can do is whoever you're going to present it to, like I'm presenting mine to a local police department that I used to live in their town for 20 plus years. So I figured it's right in the next town over. So I said, let me do that. So I called them today because I wanted to give them a heads up and, hey, I'm going to be making something. You guys are who I chose. And they said, hey, the 28th doesn't work. Can we do it sometime in November? It still gets the point across. It's still going to be exactly for the challenge. It just so happens that their schedule won't work with the exact date. So if you can't make it on the exact date, you don't even have to stress about it. You can give it a little bit later. Don't go a whole year without, giving it to them, but a couple weeks, that's fine too. It's the idea
Absolutely.
behind it. You're giving back to the people who, keep us all safe.
So if somebody had more questions about this, Makers Never Forget, they could just reach out to Cardinal Woodworking?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Or his page as well at Makers Never Forget.
And I think the page was makers.never.forget.
Yes. Has the periods between each words. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's definitely worthwhile. I'm going to try it for my first time this year. I'm looking forward to getting that on the CNC.
It's a great cause.
You want to go into a question or you want to go into another topic?
Dealer's choice. Go ahead.
So, why a mustache?
Okay. So I think I answered this before, but we can go over it again. So I got here in August, right? And one of my coworkers, he had a mustache, and he had a mustache because he lost a golf game to his brother-in-law. And that was the bet. If whoever lost had to grow the mustache. And in October, or the person's birthday, they could go ahead and shave it. And it was his brother-in-law's birthday in October, so he got to go ahead and shave it. I've never seen this guy without a mustache. So, like, kidding around with him, I'm like, I can't look at you, blah, blah, blah. And then when I turned around, I was growing a mustache. I said, I have to carry the torch because you dropped it. So in line with that, and the 31st coming up with Halloween, my costume is going to have something to do with the mustache. And I figured it would just go over really well if I did that. So it's not going to last too much longer. It will be shaved, probably in November. But
please tell me you're going to be Pharma.
I will be doing something. If you have an idea, go ahead and DM me. And if you guess it, I don't know, maybe we can.
I want to see in the comments too. I want to see people's guesses in the comments.
Are you? Is it a family friendly costume, or is
yes, it's a family friendly. Well, I mean,
my guess is out.
You could take anything and make it family friendly. I mean, so we'll leave it at that.
All right. But no, that wasn't.
It has something to do with woodworking. I will tell you all that.
All right. Well, I'm out at that point. Mine is completely not family friendly and definitely not woodworking. So, anyway, Victor had asked, have you had to tighten your belts on your laser? I'm going to make mine really short. No. And the reason being is I don't want to touch anything on that laser because I know if I do, I'll fuck it up and then the laser won't work. So I still haven't cleaned my mirrors. Let's put it that way. Because it works. So I don't want to touch it. No.
Still kind of. How much are those mirrors, Josh?
Well, it depends where you get their replacement from. They're not that pricey if you get them from American Photonics. So please wipe your mirrors off. Please.
No.
Please think of the mirrors.
I think I wiped off the first mirror, and then
there are mirrors in China that do not get wiped. Wipe yours off.
No. The only time I will do any kind of maintenance is once I see it not working. Which now that I said it's probably out there right now. That's not.
You just see smoke.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess.
How about yourself?
I've never tightened the belts. I have not seen a need for it yet. I know in time there is wear and tear. It could stretch. I'm in a different climate now, so I might see something that requires that. I do have brand new mirrors I'm going to be installing. They're better mirrors for the laser.
You're putting new mirrors, like the first, second, and third mirror?
Not mirrors, lenses.
Oh, yeah, no, I haven't cleaned the lenses or mirrors, so.
I know, either one for you. I was thinking about doing a combination mirror and red dot, just like Nap did with his. I kind of like that. That means I could take it off and I won't get bumped. It's not going to go off alignment, and it's just going to be there. So, thought about doing that too. But again, until stuff picks up, I'm not going to go ahead and purchase that combination, the laser beam and the mirror. So I might just replace the mirrors, get that all up and running, and get that going. But yes, eventually, if you see slop or you see it not engraving right, it's time to go ahead and adjust those belts, like pretty much any belt-driven item like CNC or even a filament printer like the one above me.
Tim, you have a laser?
No, but I'm looking at the belts on my CNC here, and I don't know, they seem pretty good. And I haven't done anything with these belts since I bought it 2.5 years ago, so knock on wood.
That's all you can do. You could just hope and pray for the best.
Like, I don't know, man. This spindle or the rotor in there definitely needs to be replaced because, I mean, it just sounds angry when it's spinning down and turning off.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Jason asks, how much is the red dot system? And I have a question. There's a mirror and a laser?
Okay, so there's a combo. So right now, most of our lasers have the red dot that's actually it clips on to essentially the nozzle, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a combo where basically that red pointer is pointing at the mirror and it goes into the lens and goes into the next phase into the laser nozzle. So instead of having it attached, you can bump it, you can move it. You got to make sure that's accurate once in a while. You don't need to worry about that so much because it's in a place where you shouldn't be bumping it or doing anything crazy with it. And cost-wise, off memory, I looked it up last year, or at least earlier this year. I think it's like 200-ish. Yeah. You have to make sure. Go ahead.
Victor says about 225.
Yeah, it's around that ballpark. You got to make sure you get the right one because there's two or three different types, and it depends on the stem where basically it's mounted. There's a little bit that goes into it. I haven't looked into it in a while, but if we're talking about upgrades and doing stuff to the laser, that is in the future. So
my red dot for some reason one day worked perfect. It was a perfect laser point. I turn it on the next day, and it is this scattered mess. Almost looks like you're looking through it like through a kaleidoscope or whatever the hell that's called.
Kaleidoscope.
And I can't figure out why. I tried cleaning the front of it. I was thinking maybe it got hazy or something like that. But it's just weird. One day it was perfect. Literally the next day it was scattered. So maybe the laser's breaking down or something.
If you clean your lenses and stuff, it might help.
My lenses have nothing to do with that laser pointer, sir.
I know it might help. I'm just saying.
No.
Like,
what is my
maybe it'd be like
no.
some maintenance.
AJ,
might
just let it go.
No. This is how we go. I can't let it go because my lenses.
2 years
laser pointer.
No, 2 years from now, he'll be on here and he'll be like, I cleaned my lenses today. They were black, and I actually can laser engrave again. And I never thought of that.
And then Josh is gonna whip up that audio file, like
he can. Hey. He's more than welcome to. He knows he's wrong, but he's more than welcome to.
Here we go. I actually set the name of what I was talking about. It's a laser beam combiner set, and I lied. It's not as much as I thought it is. At least where I found it. It says it's $76, but I'm pretty sure there's better ones out there than what I'm looking at. So, yeah, we'll go with that. What are we talking about? Oh, we had questions. You got me off in a rabbit hole. Yeah.
So we answered the one. While we're on lasers and CNCs, Roy from Roy_176 on the wonderful Instagrams asks, what's the difference in a router versus a spindle? I'm guessing he's talking CNC.
Yes.
So, to my knowledge, a router is a lot louder. That rhymed. Than your spindle. But also a router is literally just a palm router that they strap to a CNC and say, go it, bro. And that's it. A spindle.
That's what I got.
If you have it set up correctly, you can control it through your CAM software. So the software or your G-code sender. So you can program it to different speeds. You can also have a VFD on it so you can get more fine-tuned speeds on it, if I'm correct on that. I don't have the luxury of a spindle. I'm not Josh.
And I think, too, that when you start your program, it turns on the spindle. Yep. When it's done, it turns off the spindle.
Why? You don't want that router just running there after the thing gets finished and just buzzing away?
You did fairly well with that. But one of the most important part is length of use, or how hard you're using each.
I did hear the harder you use it, it wears out a little bit more. It might get some burns on it too.
There's medication for. The woodworking. Got it. Sorry.
Yes.
Wrong podcast.
Oh, and the spindle, just like other cylindrical objects, need lube. And that lube is in the form of antifreeze. So you could run coolant through it. That way your spindle stays cooler longer. And
they make air dry spindles.
They do.
Air cooled spindles.
Coolant, it's kind of the same thing with even the laser. You can run the laser without water, but you run the risk of overheating it and you can't run it for longer periods of time. The spindle, with it water cooled, you can definitely run that longer than your router, because if you ever held a palm router and you're using it, let's just say you use it for 10, 15 minutes, it's going to get hot. Now you're using your router on a CNC for an hour, could be 2 hours, 3 hours. People do it and they last, but I don't know if you really want to run that risk. So using a spindle with coolant, you can go a lot longer as well.
Right.
So you guys are hitting the nail on the head. I just want to add a couple different things.
No, we don't need it.
Sit back and learn. Learn from the mustache.
No.
Anyway, so long story short, you guys hit most of it. When you're using a spindle, you can go longer and harder, and you can go at different RPMs than you can with a actual router. Most people start with a router because it is cheaper, but you might have to replace that router because depending on how you're utilizing your CNC, you're not really utilizing it to its full potential with a router. And that's, again, with RPM, you're not going to be able to go as long and hard as you would with a spindle. Having the cooling through either air or water allows for prolonged use, in reducing the heat and then therefore the wear. You do have bearings in a spindle, and then in a router you have brushes that you're going to have to replace.
Right.
So some of these bits that we buy primarily are used for large scale CNCs. We can't get close to some of these speeds and feeds because of what we're using. So with me, I have a spindle, but yeah, I can't get close to some of these feeds or speeds as a industrial size because, well, it'll just tear my entire CNC apart. Being belt driven, it's not as sturdy. It won't be able to handle that kind of load. Um, but you can definitely ramp up your production, and it definitely lasts longer for like 3D carves and stuff like that. You're not going to have to worry about something burning up. So there are benefits to both of them, and um, there are benefits for getting a spindle over a router, but there's nothing wrong with running a router. For me, when I first started, the stuff I was doing, router was fine. Even for the stuff I'm doing now, I can get away with the router, but I can produce, I would say, a lot better quality stuff faster and go into that 3D realm by having a spindle. So,
Because like with a spindle, like I mean AJ said too, that it can handle running at longer durations, and then you're
yeah,
definitely going to have that with the 3D carving. I mean, those tool paths take
exactly.
forever.
Oh yeah.
I mean, with anything that's moving at high speeds like that, you're going to generate heat. And basically, how do you disperse that is the biggest thing. A router can't. I mean, they have air, but it's not built for that.
Because right now with my little $80 no brand router, like I'm concerned when I'm running it for a 3 hour tool path. With a spindle, I wouldn't even blink.
Yeah, and
It wouldn't be
there's
an
a
issue.
difference. If you're just starting off, you're getting into it a little bit. Use that router all day until you can get a spindle. If you decide that you want to do 3D carving, that's especially 3D carving or longer jobs, look into a spindle.
Right.
Side question: have you ever started a project without turning your spindle or your router on by accident?
No.
No.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I've done it on a laser where I was wondering why it wasn't cutting or engraving, and then realized, oh, that's right, my key switch isn't on.
Whoops, it easy.
Yes, but I don't.
That's actually a fear of mine. It's like if I pause the program to maybe adjust something with the collet or whatever, before I hit start, I look at the power button like 3 different times just to make sure that it's running. I touch it, I make sure I feel the vibration. Okay, it's running. So yes, resume.
Yeah.
That's a fear of mine. I think that's why I haven't done it yet, but knock on wood.
I had the fear of I didn't tighten the collet down enough, and then I was like, we're just gonna go with it. And nothing happened, luckily, but
Wasn't there one of your bits, the blade flew off because you didn't tighten down the hold screw?
So no, what happened was I made a false floor for my buddy's Mercedes Benz, and he wanted it in the trunk, but he wanted the Mercedes logo on it. He wanted a few other things, and this whole thing if I don't know how long you've been listening, Tim, but if you've been listening for a while, you'll remember the magical piece of wood that I had that was, I mean, cupped to holy hell. I laid it on my CNC, and overnight it flattened out. I mean, perfectly flat. And Josh has no idea why. So
That's a hell of a CNC.
without even touching it, it just flattened out. But so I was running this.
You lucked
and
out.
It was,
that's what happened there.
It was doing all of these different things. Nothing like super detailed, but it did a big logo, then a medium-sized logo, and then some lettering with wings and whatnot for his friend that had passed away. So he wanted to do a tribute to him. And it got to the last 2 letters. And I think I heard something while I was upstairs because I let it go. I was like, this is going great. Well, the last 2 letters got messed up really bad because the carbide bit, knife that was on this V-bit that I was using, loosened up and started wobbling. So it gave me this whole jagged edge, and then it broke completely. So it literally broke at the last letter. and it screwed it all up. Luckily, I was able to salvage it a little bit, but yeah, that was the only time I ever had something catastrophic go on me.
So Jason Grissom had an interesting question. He asked, what was the first thing you did once you got the CNC? Like, I don't remember what I did on my first CNC, but this one, I put on some plywood, and then I basically cut my own work.
Oh yeah, okay.
Work holding solution. So just the whole platform. So that was like my first cut. It's just like work holding clamps and blocks
I have
and stuff like that.
No idea what I did at the first send of it. But it's funny. I look at old files that I made in like Vectric, and even I do the same now with Lightburn, and I'm looking at these things going, what was I thinking when I set these files up? I mean, they're like horrible.
Experience.
Holy God.
I still have some of my first SolidWorks creations from like 10 years ago. Now I'm looking at the feature tree like, oh, God.
Yeah. One thing that I wish I understood more was I wish I understood writing code for the CNC, because with mine, I'm so panicked because one time I had it where I hit return to zero. My CNC, I don't know if it is the same across the board or is it the program that I'm using, but my CNC drops the Z down to its zero height, and then it chases over. So it doesn't move X and Y first. It drops the Z. So
that's like the absolute worst thing ever.
It doesn't plunge into the workpiece, but like if my zero, is, let's say, in the center of the piece and I move it back into the left, it'll drop Z, go like angled over.
That is a G code issue that you need to rectify.
Yeah, well, I don't do that anymore. Return to zero is not used unless I know I'm in the clear of clamps or any hold downs or anything like that.
I guess my assumption with return to zero is like it would do X0, Y0, and Z0 at the same time. So it would be like this angular move. That's my assumption. But in your case, it did it in an order. It did Z first and then traversed X, Y.
You want that backwards. You want X and Y and then Z.
I know.
Yeah, I'm just curious how it prioritized the actions. That's very strange.
I would think that, why would they make Z priority? You would want to move over and then drop, not drop, then move. And of course, if you post on any of the forums and whatnot, I hate forums. I'm going to just go on my pet peeve real quick.
They're like 15% useful.
They are, I'll give them a lot less. There is a 2% chance that you are going to get an answer that is worth reading. Most of it is just complete because these people go on and go, oh, you're running the wrong software. It's like, but software is software. So they all work on G code. Just tell me what kind of code I have to put in there to rectify this. Well, mine doesn't do that.
Have you Googled it?
Yes, I have, and I can't find anything. Now, maybe I'm Googling the wrong thing, but here's the problem with me, and this is going to sound kind of stupid, but if I don't see the answer within like the first few sentences, I'm out. Next page.
What's the action you're trying to do? Trying to find zero or?
I want to return. So if let's say I'm doing repeatable pieces, and for some reason I want to return to zero, if I hit return to zero, it jogs the Z down, then it moves.
Weird.
Yeah, it's it makes no sense, and no one has an answer for me. Now I haven't looked it up in a long time because
you have to set it or save it. I'm looking it up right now for you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that.
We can go into this afterwards, not to take up too much of the show, but
no.
We'll definitely try to get that fixed for you, man, because I could definitely see a need for that, and it's something that you should be able to utilize without having fear of it destroying your piece.
To be honest, I don't really need a need for it, only because even if I'm doing repeated cuts, if I'm doing the same exact thing, all I got to do is once my zero is set, if I know that piece is in the exact same spot as the previous one, I could just hit go and it knows that zero. It doesn't know I swapped the piece out.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
But anyway.
Actually, gents, I think we should wrap this one up, and because I think we answered all the questions, right? We do have topics.
What I want to do is I'm going to do something I don't think you guys have ever done on the Sawdust Nation podcast, even when I was on it. No, this is going to be called a teaser. So on the next episode of Sawdust Nation podcast, which will be the 175th episode, you can hear some topics along the lines of, I got to start that over. I apologize. You're going to start this over. On the next episode of Sawdust Nation podcast, you can hear some of the great topics that we got coming up. Some of them was which one project you could go back and redo if you had the chance. Also, pushing yourself with different medias and different projects. On top of that, we got some questions from our lovely listeners, some of which, what tool would you add if money wasn't an issue right now? And those are just some of the topics and questions you will be hearing on the next episode of Sawdust Nation podcast. Actually, I want to also try something different. Do you guys have any recommendations? It could be different podcasts, YouTube. It could be your barber who should have shaved that mustache off. But what do I know?
I'm my own barber.
Oh. Anyway, any recommendations from you, gents?
Well, I have a recommendation. So when I was at Maker Camp, I met an absolutely fantastic person named Tanda Madison. Absolutely recommend checking out her content. She's a brilliant woman. But getting to know her it was an absolute treat. She's a brilliant woman with fantastic mind, great sense of humor. So definitely follow her on Instagram at Tanda Madison. That's my recommendation.
Mr. Josh, man.
Wow, Mr. I don't hear that very often. Say it again.
Mr.
Anyway.
Josh, man.
No. We talked about earlier, Empire Goods Co. Tapping into what they have. They have a lot of great choices if you're working with epoxy, different pours. Definitely something I like doing. I just didn't have the right stuff for. And with their new product, I think I'm going to add some capability to the shop. I'm looking forward to getting that. Or I have it. Looking forward to using that. So.
Okay. I'm going to do a shout out to, because I've been on a podcast binge, and there was a podcast that I just listened to from weld.com, and it was with Chris. I can't remember his last name, but he's Green Money Fab on Instagram. He does all big smokers, and actually he was at Maker Camp. If you saw the smokers when you first walked in, Tim.
Chris Cash.
No, his name is Chris Verity. I don't remember his last name. Yeah, Chris Verity. He is Green Money Fab, and he builds the smokers actually. And he was also cooking while he was there. So if you check out his latest episode, it's not his podcast, but he was on as a guest, and it was weld.com. And it's really cool learning about how he got into the smoking of, the barbecue end, and then also how he got into building the smokers as well. And to see them in person at Maker Camp was really good. And I'm guessing since you were there the whole weekend, you had gotten the barbecue as well.
It was
Mr.
fantastic.
Huh?
It was fantastic.
Those ribs, I told Chris, I also told William Shear, who was cooking as well. I told them both that those ribs were hands down the best ribs I've ever had in my entire life. And my father makes them, and they're very good, but his are not good like that. So that is my recommendation.
Well, with that, don't forget PWN CNC. If you have a CNC, you want to spice that up, you can go and check him out. He has all accessories you could ever ask for when it comes to CNC. And you know what? You can find out for yourself what a spindle could do for you. Just get one of his kits. With that, final words, gentlemen?
Be good to each other. Be good to yourself. Get out there and make some sawdust.
There we go.
Don't grow a mustache if you can. Just get rid of it. I went mustache once, and Kim hated it. And all the guys at the shop all put it up their hands because they thought I was going to arrest them.
At least like do the monkey tail where it starts here and it goes around this way.
I can't do that. This is the only thing I'm allowed to do. So
nice.
Yeah, we could go with what you can. Yeah, someday I can grow something as fabulous as you two.
Nice.
But with that, again, thank you for everyone listening to the 174th episode. Thank you guys for joining us this episode. Nap is taking a long nap today, and it was a pleasure having both of you guys on. And thank you, AJ, for spicing it up with a couple of different things. We might be carrying that on. And hell, just go out there, make some sawdust, and have a good time. Sawdust Nation Podcast out! We don't do that anymore.
This podcast fell apart once I left. 100%.
Here we go.
You can only do so many episodes before everyone knows exactly where to reach out.
There's no threats.
That's it. And
If
I'm only
if you don't leave a 5-star review on any of the podcast catchers,
You
we'll
left with
send
your
somebody after. We will send
You left.
somebody after you, and they will have a mustache.
yeah. His cat has a mustache now?
No.
No? It's not Mr. Mustache? Oh, hey, Mr. Mustache.
Nope.
Does
What if
Heather
I
call
put
you
a
Mr.
fake-
Mustache?
No, she calls me. She tells me.
We don't need to know what she really calls you.
Let's just put it that way. She does not like the mustache.